Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining in today. Welcome to another Showcase AMA here on the Polygon Discord. Today, we got a really cool project. We have 3S Gaming Studio. How are you doing today?
Hello, doing good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Grateful that you're here. Really excited to talk about your project. But um, before we get into that, let's talk a bit about you, who you are. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about your background, what you were doing before crypto, and like what got you into the space.
Sure thing. So my name is Adam Grodzki. I come from Poland, and I am an IT developer for approximately almost 20 years now. I've been also a lead and an executive for different companies for something around 10 years now. And I am in crypto space since 2011, so I was one of the early adopters. My specialty when it comes down to work is network security, cryptography, math, and financing services. But I got into gaming something around 7 years ago and found that it would be great to combine what is your passion and your work together and started educating myself. And with a handful of just the best, amazing people that I met online, we started up a gaming studio something around a year ago and combined all our knowledge and experience in different IT sectors into this new endeavor.
Fantastic. That's super exciting. So, what are the um, main things that you guys are seeking to solve within the space? Like, what's the main like value proposition for you guys? Like, what are you trying to provide for game developers and blockchain enthusiasts?
So we got a very large experience when it comes down to game development, mostly in Unreal Engine, but honestly in any other engine as well, including custom ones. And we wanted to jump into this Web3 space with a project that we actually had in design for years now. And we found out that even though the crypto space has evolved during the years, there is very little to none tools that are supporting game developers, especially in the next generation engines. And any tools that are accessible, they are lacking some of the just core functionalities to make your software reliable, scalable, and safe to use. So before we could start making our own games in Web3 space, we had to create tools that would support creation of games in Web3 space. And because the entire Web3 gaming scene right now is mostly combined of games that are not yet like visually and technically on a very high level, we wanted to create tools that would be open to the community, to just an amazing community of Unreal Engine developers, and put it in the hands of indie studios. Because if we are counting for AAA to introduce us with good implementations of cryptocurrencies and blockchain as a technology into gaming, we can be sure that they will only focus on the financial aspect of the technology, where actually blockchain brings a lot of ease of life tools to game developers.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that gaming is going to be huge for driving mass adoption to blockchain technology. Like, if we want to onboard the next 1 billion users, video games are going to be a huge part of that, as video games are the largest entertainment industry by far. So, yeah, I think it's what you guys are tackling is like a very important problem that needs to be solved. And yeah, there's a lot of potential there. So like yeah, I'm really curious how users are able to tap into um, using some of the products that you offer.
Okay, so currently we have two products that are already on the market and they are publicly accessible on the Unreal Engine marketplace. One is a blockchain plugin, which is just a generic blockchain integration plugin that is a full implementation of Ethereum in C++, and it allows you to do whatever you would expect from a full node directly inside the Unreal Engine, which means that it is not only a tool that allows you to connect to blockchain and read the values and status of transactions and addresses. It allows you to generate wallets on premise. It has full support of all the cryptographic functions you would need to do anything in the blockchain space. Um, it allows you to create, sign, and send transactions to RPC nodes and basically do whatever you would do with a full node anywhere. And because it is natively written in C++ and it's a native plugin, you can build, compile, and ship it with a dedicated server and a full game very easily.
This sounds
One of
like a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Uh, yeah, one more thing is that one of the main reasons we made it like this is that we didn't want our clients to be dependent on us as a third party service provider. It would be a lot easier to just make a web service and just connect to it, and we would be then a custody service for wallets and transactions. But we don't want games to be dependent on third party software. Like we are in Web3 running away from big corporations like Steam and their greedy hands. And it wouldn't be wise to just put the fate of our game back into another small company. So whatever you build with this plugin, you control all aspects of it, the wallets, the transactions, and you also get full source when you purchase it. So you can do a security audit, you can change some of the core functionalities. You see how it works. It's not a black box.
Right. This sounds like a very massive technological breakthrough, in my opinion, at least. And I'm really curious, like, how you personally see this affecting like future video games and like, like how will it impact like what games look like from a player's perspective?
Well, currently, Unreal Engine has something around 20 million active accounts when it comes just to the marketplace of the developers. So we are talking about 20 million active developers that log into the page and they are producing maybe a game that you will never see because it's just a test project or something. But the indie game space is a lot larger than we think, and producing such public tools that are very cheaply accessible to everyone will definitely boost greatly the amount of games that we are seeing in the crypto space. And with quantity will come quality because bad games will die out and good games will stand up.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like we see that a lot in the decentralized finance world as well, right? Like bad protocols, they just fade away, and the good ones stick around. So yeah, it's like that throughout the industries. Um, cool.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to mention that blockchain plugin and blockchain in general for game developers, not many developers yet understand it, or they are fighting this concept really badly, and they putting arguments that, oh yeah, there's no problem that Web3 is solving that you cannot solve with Web2 solutions. And this is absolutely right. You can do anything with Web2 solutions. But Web3 in some cases is actually speeding up the process of development really greatly. We're talking about saving weeks, if not months, of development time. Because if we have this layer of blockchain that is doing the communication and security for our communication between server and clients, we no longer have to do it by hand. We don't need to provide identity policies. We don't need to secure and validate some of the data because it can be already validated on blockchain before the transactions gets approved. So uh, it really speeds up the development. And even games that don't heavily rely on blockchain for any monetary value could still benefit from blockchain as a technology.
That's really interesting because normally when I look at the benefits of blockchain gaming, I look at the play benefits to the player base, like you know NFTs, you own the in-game assets, right? Like that's the main benefit I look at. But you're saying that it's also a huge benefit to developers in the sense that it alleviates some of the work that they have to do on the back end because they could use the blockchain as a
Yeah,
back end. Am I understanding that correctly?
yeah. For example, introduction of Steam items and being able to use Steam items inside your game and being traded on Steam. That takes days, if not weeks, to introduce to a game that is already there. But doing the same with NFTs takes just few hours. Same for identity policies and identifying people by their cryptographic key. Just writing a simple service takes maybe 1 hour to identify clients with blockchain technology.
Right. So you have a SDK that's available on the Unreal Engine marketplace, correct?
That is correct.
Right. And then so what blockchains is that SDK compatible with? Is it like chain agnostic or is it focused on EVM compatible chains?
So currently we are EVM compatible. So any blockchain that understand EVM RPC calls will work with our plugin. There are predefined networks that we already ship as structures for connecting to blockchain, and one of the core ones is, of course, Polygon. But you can just create a custom connection to any EVM network. And currently, we are working on introducing, first of all, Bitcoin and any Bitcoin related network to our plugin. And then we will shift our attention to Solana compatibility.
Awesome. Is it all right if I drop the link in the chat? I believe I have the right one. It's called Blockchain by 3S Game Studio Code
Yes,
Plugins. Yeah,
exactly.
that's the right one. Perfect, perfect. Um, and then it looks like you had an IPFS one as well.
Yeah.
So are these
Yeah.
do these complement each other, or how do these both work?
Uh, Both of them work independent of each other, and they have certain benefits that can benefit any project without each other. But obviously, blockchain and IPFS work just amazingly together, especially when you are working with NFTs. That more and more often are using IPFS as a stack to hold both the metadata and the images directly. I'm actually got a few examples of both of the plugins. So after we finish the interview, I can showcase live what those plugins can do.
Most definitely, we can jump into that whenever you feel like it's appropriate to do so. But yeah, if you
Uh,
want to break down, like honestly, my next questions were about the plugins and like what users can do with them. So if you want to jump into just demoing it, I think that'd be great.
sure, why not? Let me share my screen. Okay.
And Johnskin is asking a great question. He's wondering, where do you see the potential common ground for DeFi and gaming specifically? And he's wondering like your thoughts on microtransactions and KYC. Like, what do you think are the main benefits of like introducing DeFi and NFTs and all that Web3 has to offer to gaming?
I mean, I think the main thing is that because development of blockchain-based transactionary items inside gaming is a lot cheaper for the developers, and it's not also tied to commissions that are extremely high on external markets like Steam. Uh, Developers will be able to actually submit content to users and build premium content for a lot lower prices with this technology. Also, one of our plugins, the IPFS plugin, we are developing an update for it that will allow for. I'm going to actually show it in a second. That allows a distributed way of distribution of content that allows you to update game clients live. So you can basically generate content patches for your game without the need of actually patching the game, and deliver it to users that purchased or otherwise acquired, for example, through NFTs, certain expansion packs or visual content assets.
Fantastic. So what do we have going on the screen here?
Okay, so this is the example project that you can download for free. It of course requires the plugin to run with the full functionalities, but I wanted to showcase what you can do. So basically, it's a third-person template from Unreal Engine 5, and I've added a few new things here in the scene. So first of all, if I go full screen, okay. You can see here there's a button that basically opens a simplified version of a wallet. And this entire wallet was constructed entirely in game. So this is not relying on any information being fed outside the, except for the, of course, fetching data directly from an RPC node. And you can construct a wallet of this functionality where you have generation of keys, you can copy them and paste them in external programs. You can send transaction, validate addresses, and do basically anything you would expect from a wallet. And construction of this wallet took less than 1 hour. We also provided few other examples. One that allows you to select and claim any color. It's not based on NFT. This example is a very simple smart contract that has literally just a few lines of code, but it allows you to store information that is tied to very specific wallet, and you can mint, sort of mint, right? Claim different colors for less than 1 cent on Polygon network, because this is running on mainnet. So just for a few cents, I can, I don't know, claim color blue and generate a transaction.
So how do you see this feature being like applied in a game setting?
And you could,
Oh,
for game
this is
settings,
this a character customized? It could be like a.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I see now.
So you could, for example, with this an IPFS plugin, download not just a color but a texture, and you could apply, for example, an NFT as a tattoo or a pattern on a shield or something even more complex. Here is another example. We have an NFT vendor, and he's just selling tickets. And you can just mint those tickets. And if you don't own a ticket, you can't go through a gate that is invisible in here. If you do have a gate, if you do have a ticket, you will get validated and you will be passed through. So you can, for example, make, well, first of all, ownership of areas that you can access only having certain permission level, or you can just make location permissions based on that. You can also, summon pets, change armor colors, or craft items that are accessible only through NFTs. And all of those examples, they were put in a relatively very short time, and they don't really take that much knowledge to build. For example, the entire wallet is just fully built with blueprints, so with this visual scripting, because our plugin works both in C++ and in visual scripting in blueprints. So yeah, like this is the entire thing.
This is crazy. So I'm a bit of a gamer myself. I grew up playing video games. So after seeing the claim color thing, I was thinking about a potential use case. Might be in an MMORPG like World of Warcraft style type of game. You spawn in as a character, like you right, and you get an NFT for it. So your character's an NFT, and then maybe the character customization, you're like actually it's like a dynamic NFT that you make changes to it within the game, and then you like kind of like build your custom NFT. Could that be like a potential use case? Like,
Um, that's it's funny you mentioned this use case. We are actually building a game that will be a great showcase of this technology. Um, and I think you will like it. This is all I can say right now.
yeah, I think I will too. I love what I'm seeing right now. This is so cool.
Because it's pretty much doing what you are stating. With IPFS, we can import external assets that are not being shipped with the game itself, and we can load them dynamically if they just meet certain criteria. So with you will be able to inside our game use NFTs that are not shipped by us. You will be able to use NFTs that are your NFTs, and they might affect your character and general appearance in different ways depending on the collection that you own.
Right, right. And like say you had I don't know, an NFT with some kind of functions that you call on it, like maybe you have a pet and you have to like take care of your pet, so every once in a while you have to call the like I don't know, feed or pet your pet, like you know what I mean? Like that's something you could do through the game then using your SDK because this enables
Yes,
you to make all
exactly.
the
And
smart contract calls. Yeah.
one of the coolest things about blockchain is that you suddenly have this new backend layer that that has a common interface that different clients can use. So, for example, you can have a desktop application that is written in Unreal Engine, and then you can have like a just a managing tool or crafting tool that is a mobile application built with Unity, and then you can have certain functionality that you can just call on the blockchain directly from your browser and just for example, feed your pets because you couldn't log into your game, but you could just do it from anywhere from a separate application. um, so yeah, blockchain as a medium of just storing data and status of certain assets is just amazing. Of course, when you have, like in this example, pets that will be in-game pets, you need to have a model. This model need to have animation, and it requires certain preparations of those assets ahead of the time. But the functionalities that you give to the NFT, they can be called from anywhere, really. Okay, so this was one of the examples. I want to show you something else. So this is just a test project you can download. You can check how everything is being set. Um, It also works in multiplayer, by the way. So this works on dedicated server and listen servers. So you can have multiple people trade like doing different stuff. We haven't introduced in this example yet trading of NFTs, but we are building it up as it goes. Uh, so this is one of the projects. Second project I wanted to show is showcasing both blockchain and IPFS plugin. And this is an art gallery layout that was free on the Unreal Engine marketplace, but we modified it. So when you run it, this example, you get those pictures that are all the same, except that they are slowly refreshing. And they are actually fetching information from the blockchain that stores IPFS data, and they are fetching images directly from IPFS and outputting it on the walls of an art gallery. So that just takes seconds, doesn't really hit performance, doesn't stop how everything works.
This is so
And
cool.
yeah, and actually, how Unreal Engine 5 is managing scaling of resolution and textures. Like this image in general is very low quality and low resolution, but here it's like 2 meters high, 2 meters wide, and it looks really good still. So you could put this on a wall, but you could put this on a character, you could put it on a banner, you could put it on a car, right? You could do with this whatever you like. You could also read the metadata from the JSON, and you could, for example, get the background color, and you could use this background color as walls color for your virtual apartment or something like that. So there's a lot of use cases. So yeah, I just made this little gallery.
It's amazing. I love it. Um, so in regards to Unreal Engine 5, that's the only game engine that this supports at the time, correct?
Yes, but
Okay, I'm
we
wondering
are
if we
working
could.
on a solution for Unity right now.
Oh, okay, cool. That's thank you for sharing that alpha. But I'm wondering, like, if you could explain, for those who aren't aware, like the significance of Unreal Engine 5 and perhaps like how popular it is compared to other gaming engines, and like maybe if there's some like key AAA examples that use Unreal Engine
So
5.
Unreal Engine 5 is not the biggest by game number scale engine on the market, but I would say it is the most significant one. On Steam, for example, in the top 200 best selling games, over half of them are made with Unreal Engine. So it is being used by the top professionals. And Unreal Engine 5, in compared to Unreal Engine 4, is really stepping up the game when it comes down to performance, automatic LOD scaling, is just making life of developers a lot easier. Previously, you required people who were absolute specialists when it comes down to optimizing shadows and lights, for example. And now you have Lumen, which is managing all those soft shadows around all the objects automatically, and you no longer have to really bother with that much. You still have to keep in mind some optimization, but it's getting just easier and easier. And it is an engine that is being adopted by the biggest game studios on the planet that had their own proprietary engines, and they are switching to Unreal. And there is a lot of benefits on that switch, even if they're paying very small commission on the sold projects. One of the examples is that currently Square Enix and CD Projekt Red are both switching entirely from their own engines to Unreal Engine 5. So we're going to see a lot of AAA games in the near future that are utilizing this particular engine. And also this engine is extremely accessible to new developers because of the Blueprints visual scripting. It is very easy to debug, and it is very easy to just start making games within first hours of first tutorials, and it's a good start before you jump into actual coding in C++.
Yeah, I'm honestly mind blown by what you guys are doing, and you're positioned so well for the future. There was a question coming in from John Skin. He's wondering, does your solution include some templates for running a market slash auction house for these in-game items? And I'm also wondering, um, do you guys offer like templates for creating NFTs, or is like the creation of smart contracts more up to the user, whereas you guys are just providing a way to interact with the smart contracts?
Um, like I said, for us, very important is that you control the way that you implement blockchain into your game, and you are not depending on anything that we provide. Of course, with the example project, we also ship example smart contract source code, but there is a lot of just amazing open source repositories for NFTs and even more complex solutions out there. And if you want to make a marketplace, I would say the easiest way is just to stick to the OpenSea metadata JSON structure for your NFTs. And you will automatically make your NFTs compatible with every NFT market on the planet. And you don't need to write your own market that way. You can just ship your tokens to external markets and utilize tools that are already developed and accessible publicly, and you're still not relying on anyone, because even if some market would delist your NFTs, he cannot allow you to list on just another market.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. And something I'm curious is like, what are your thoughts on like tokenomics in blockchain games, like play to earn games? Like, what are your thoughts on that model?
Well, play to earn, even amongst people working Web3 space gaming, is something that we came to acknowledge that it's not working out. Because play to earn in definition is inflationary and it works out only as you get more people joining the game. And you will eventually run out of people who want to join the game to earn. Games need to be fun first. Uh, they can't be built around microtransactions. It didn't work with Web 2, and any game that is just too greedy didn't work out, and it's not working out in Web 3. But personally, I know about a few unannounced projects in Web 3 space that are avoiding all the greedy bits of Web 3 development, and they are utilizing this technology to just deliver reasonably priced content to users in this new distribution way.
That makes sense. Like you think play to earn might be just a temporary fad that proves to like not be sustainable and just
Yeah, but blockchain in gaming is definitely sustainable. Playing to earn as a model might not be, but blockchain as a technology is amazing. It allows you to just distribute content to your users directly without involvement of any third markets that would take commissions on it. It allows you to then resell this content in between players, and the creator, so the game developer, can still take commission on those trades. And it just helps building a healthy economy.
right, absolutely. And what are your thoughts on like interoperability and composability? Like I feel like, you know, you could use one NFT for like multiple experiences and so many different things. Like it's ultimately up to uh, the developers what they want to do, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think you could see a lot of new partnerships and collaborations in gaming that we weren't seeing previously with these like blockchain items?
Yeah, this is something that we also start seeing more and more in Web 2 space and in general space, like companies crossing each other's, products crossing each other. I think we don't need to search anywhere else than Fortnite that has collaboration with basically anything that exists on the planet by now. And the same is going to happen with Web3 solutions. And one of the main arguments that people who don't like Web3 in gaming is that, oh, you can't just take assets from one game and use it in another game. Well, technically you can. Of course, you can't if the developer of such asset doesn't allow it and doesn't expose certain source files of this asset. But on technical level, it is absolutely doable that you could have a character that you created in one game, but you are using it in another game. Or even if you're not using the full character, then you are using certain aspects of your character that you created. And it might not look the same because, for example, it's in different graphical style, but it is still utilizing your NFT and your metadata that is tied to the NFT. Most people like still believe that like NFT is the image that you see on OpenSea. NFT is the metadata that stands behind the token, and all that can be stored there can be used in different ways. It's just data. How you interpret it depends on the developer, and I think we should see more crossing in between Web3 projects, and I think this is like the next big wave of things that's coming to the gaming space.
So yeah, I love the way you worded all of that. I could not have said that better. Um, one project or one game I grew up playing was like Super Smash Bros, which is you know all the Nintendo characters mashed together in one fighting game. I feel like that would be a really cool project, like an NFT fighting game where someone just brings all these digital assets into one game. I feel like that'll be a popular mashup. I feel like we'll see a lot of those in the future potentially.
Definitely, but this is something that is definitely going to come from the indie developers because AAA developers they only care about their IP and about how all the assets that they're creating needs to stay inside their own infrastructure. When indie developers they are more open-minded to just collaborating and creating something that is creative, fun, and just something that they would enjoy themselves. Most passionate game developers are also passionate gamers.
You just made me think of an interesting topic. So in the past with games, we've always seen like issues surrounding pirating games, like torrenting, illegal downloading, right? And of course, like all these like big studios, they want to protect their IPs, but if they're putting assets on the blockchain, like the blockchain's a publicly like distributed ledger, anyone could access it. So there could be these people like potential anonymous game developers that just take these assets from like protected IPs and use them to make a game, and these IPs might not want to be used like that. I I just see that as a potential scenario. I'm curious what your
Of
thoughts are on
course,
that.
of course, but I'm a game developer for longer than than Web3, and I can tell you that any game in existence that you can download, install, and play has all the assets, sometimes encrypted, sometimes not, already on your hard drive, and they are being ripped out of the files within hours since the game is being published. So if someone wants to take a 3D asset that you have in game and use it illegally, it's not really hard to do so. There are just open source tools that are doing that. Recently, Blizzard tried to encrypt the 3D models of their newest release of Overwatch 2, because they didn't want those assets to be used in a bad way, let's say. But yeah, it took, I think, 48 hours to people to get their hands on those assets. So this is not something that you can stop by just doing something on a technological level, really. So this will still happen. But NFTs actually are very good for protecting your rights, because if you have a contract, like you have a very specific contract with specific NFTs and they hold very specific metadata. If this metadata is on chain, then it can't be faked, right? So even if someone steals your 3D asset and he is also putting it on chain in a smart contract, it's a different smart contract. And any game on the planet knows it. And he can say that, oh, yeah, if you have this asset, but it doesn't come from this smart contract, then yeah, it's not original and you can't use it. It's a pretty simple functionality to do this check, really.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a really good point you made there. Like you can fake like a 3D or in-game model, but you can't fake a smart contract. That's huge. And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's a really good point too. That like this kind of IP theft has been going on since like as long as gaming has been going for, right? Like people are always modding their games to have like different skins and characters and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that was an interesting can of conversation to explore. Um, cool. So I'm curious. Let's get back to like 3S Studio. Like what's going on with you guys like right now? Like what are your near term plans? What's in the pipeline for you? Because
So,
I know you guys are only like a year old, so there's
not even that.
yeah.
We were actually established this January. So since then, we created and published the blockchain plugin and the IPFS plugin. Both of those are being further developed. They're already feature complete and working as intended. But like I said, we already have really big plans for the blockchain one, and I think just as big for IPFS. And the blockchain plugin was published 10 weeks ago, and we are already releasing sixth update right now. It should be online tomorrow, which adds new features every single time. So we will continue to develop those tools, and in the meantime, in the background, we are developing our own game, which is just a giant love letter to Web3 gaming. And it will feature most of features you will expect from a decentralized game that is just very open-minded. And we are very careful to make it in such a way that it doesn't damage any IP or any partner, and it still be something that will be looked up to by other developers. And we intend to do a lot of releases, blog posts, and information on how we achieve that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So this game you guys are working on, do you think it'll be more of like a metaverse world experience or more of a video game experience?
Um, I hate to use the word metaverse. Um, Although we are close to the concept, as close as you can be while still being a game. But yeah, we are focusing on having a very solid gameplay loop and actually even a few gameplay loops. So either if you are very hardcore, dedicated PvP player fan, or you are a casual player who rather spend time decorating an apartment, you will find something for yourself inside this game that is not colliding with the ways that other people like to play it. So you will have different types of experience, and you could choose the kind of experience that you want to participate and be part of.
Awesome. I'm really excited to find out more. Once the alpha is available, I'd love to get my hands on that.
We should be able to showcase something really cool by January.
Awesome. Maybe we'll have to get another AMA scheduled for that. I think that would be a
Would
great
be great.
idea. Cool, cool. One thing I'm curious about is the brand 3S Game Studio. Why did you decide to call yourselves that?
Oh, that's a long story. You want the official version or the unofficial version?
Um, whichever you feel is more appropriate, I suppose.
Uh, I mean, they're both appropriate, I would say. The main story about how why we are 3S is that there is this saying about triple A industry, right? And currently there are talks about making quadruple A games, and this like double A, triple A stigma is sticking to game studios in general. So someone is saying that someone is double A as a positive, or saying that he's a not an AAA double A studio as a negative. So we wanted to get away from this stigma, and we're not making triple A games. We're making triple S games. And you know, in most games, the S rank is a lot higher than the A rank. So we want to just change the landscape and not try to be like the big studios. We try to do something not necessarily better, but different. Something that feels unique. So that's one of the arguments behind our name.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay. My next question is related to partnerships. Do you have any like key partnerships right now, or like what are some key partnerships you'd um love to see
Um,
happen in the future?
Maybe not partnerships, but collaborators. It's obviously you guys. We received a small support from Polygon Network, and we received a grant from you guys. So creation of the blockchain plugin wouldn't be possible if not that. So thank you for that. And we are continue to work to support any of the new releases and new features of Polygon into the plugins because well, we are developing on Polygon, so integration is very important for us. Another one of the key collaborators that we have is Falcon Foundation, which was just an amazing support to our team. And we are together developing some really exciting stuff based on IPFS stack for game developers that is very usable for Web3 development, even in single player games. I can actually even showcase. I got one more example that I wanted to show you. And this is
Awesome.
something we haven't announced yet fully. Just some people know that we're working on this. So, like I said, IPFS plugin itself is already feature complete. So it allows you to stream, download, and upload files directly from memory or from drive and to drive. So you can store textures directly in the memory as 2D textures that can be usable in game, but you can also store them as a JPEG or PNG on your drive, so it doesn't have to be fetched again from the network later on. Developer decides how he's utilizing the tool. But we are now currently producing an update that will automate. It will be a build tool for Unreal Engine that will allow you to fragment your game code automatically on build upload to a pinning service in IPFS. It will allow you to download content for the game on demand. One of the biggest issues currently with the next generation games is that we're getting higher resolution textures and better looking graphics, but there is a cost to that. We got better GPUs, we got faster CPUs, we got better technology to just stream this data and interpret it as images, but they still take a lot of place on the hard drive. And if you are on consoles, you have very limited hard drive, and currently most consoles don't ship with even a Blu-ray disc. So you have to store everything locally on your machine. So we're trying to solve this issue. So this is a project that we created to showcase something. And this project in general has a 2 GB content example. So we managed to make a build that contains only 41 megabytes inside it. And it has a special folder in save called IPFS cache. And I'm going to show you something cool. So if we run the game, the actual game is just this. There's nothing, literally nothing. If I click enter hub, nothing will happen because there is no hub. I can go here. I can say download hub. And what will happen is that if I go here, I have downloaded a piece of a build game and I have mounted it live without resetting the game. And I can now enter the hub. And it's being loaded dynamically. I didn't have to patch the game. I didn't have to run any update. And now I'm in this map that didn't exist just a second ago.
That is so cool. So essentially, like, you can communicate with IPFS from an Unreal Engine 5 game using what you guys have built.
Yes. Yes. And we are automating tools for game developers. So it's as easy to use as possible. So you can generate distributed builds of your game and you can generate patches and updates for streaming assets without requirement of actually patching the game. It will be like a game that is a live service. It can be changed depending on what is accessible. And blockchain is just an amazing way to store versioning and the links to the IPFS. And then you have this one service that is always online and that is always accessible and is one true source of all the links that can't be faked in any way. And based on those links, you can download game patches and content. So there's another content here that in order to access it, I have to download another pack. And
So this would, if this game was on a console, like, would this still be possible on like a PlayStation or an Xbox?
yes, yes. The way that the pack files and their loading is built in Unreal Engine is unified for all platforms. So you could distribute different patches and different content depending on the console, for example, or something that we are looking forward to is that you can, for example, make different aesthetic assets like low poly characters and fully realistic characters, and you can swap them at runtime depending on the specs of your hardware. So if you are playing on a very old computer, you can make the entire game look low polygon. And if you have the latest stuff, you can have everything realistic. And oops.
Um,
Uh, and then you can play on the same map with different people, and you will be able to play with each other, even though your games look differently.
so if someone was on their console, um, obviously they would need an internet connection to be able to communicate with IPFS and the blockchain, and additionally, I'm wondering, they would probably need some gas fees. Um,
You're just reading data, so you don't really need
okay.
you just need to connect to a source and just read data. You as a developer, you need to have enough to post an update. But when it comes down to Polygon, all the gas fees are so little that I think I spent like 5 cents developing all the examples in the last 10 weeks. So
Right,
it's
right.
really not much.
Um, but
Oh,
like, would it still like say you're on an Xbox and there you could like mint an NFT in this one game? Would it be possible to make the transaction from an Xbox? Like, would they have to import a seed phrase or create a new wallet and then get some
um,
Matic in
this
it?
is
And is that a
our,
possibility?
our plugin is platform agnostic, of course. So it will work everywhere. And the way that you're using wallets is that you can do it in multiple ways, right? Because you do need a private key to sign a transaction and mint an NFT that has to exist in the game. Um, but you can get this private key from an BIP39 words. You can get it from automatic generation. You can save it and store it in your cloud. Please don't. Or you can just import it from MetaMask or other wallet that you are using. Or you can generate a new wallet and export it to MetaMask, and then you can interact with smart contracts in separate places. So, for example, you can turn on your MetaMask on your phone, import a key from a game, and then on this key purchase an NFT on an external market, and you will get information about this NFT in game. So you could buy, for example, I don't know, a skin for a sword, and immediately, few seconds later, you will be able to mint that sword in game and just craft it, for example, or change the appearance of a sword that you already have.
Okay, so essentially there's like more than one way to connect your wallet and like with your account in game.
Yeah, like you can have wallet connection per se, functionality on smart contract level where you can interact completely with external wallet, but you need to introduce certain ERC standards to make it possible. You can import, export, generate, or regenerate any key in any way inside the game. So yeah, it just depends on the developer what options he give you. Like, is the wallet already integrated into the game, or maybe you can import a wallet from outside as just a hex key. But in all cases, it takes just 15 minutes to introduce a new way of using wallets. So I would hope that most developers will give you different options to how you want to interact with the game.
Right. So if you were to like, I don't know, put it in a one word elevator pitch, or sorry, one sentence elevator pitch, I would say like 3S Game Studios is the bridge between Unreal Engine 5 and the blockchain. Like I like that
Uh,
that seems to
I
be it.
might I might even say that we are the only solution currently for Unreal Engine that is a full stack solution for Web3 development.
Perfect. Yeah, I love the way you worded that. So yeah, you don't have any competitors then? There's no one else really doing what you guys are doing?
There are different plugins that are in general blockchain plugins, but all of them have very big limitations that if you want to seriously develop a game, you would have to really reconsider if you want to use them. So either they are just running a web service that they are actually holding all your keys or your coins, and they are making the transactions, and you are just provided with an API key. So if they revoke that API key, your game stops working completely. Or they are relying on a microservice that is running in the background, which cannot be packaged and shipped with the game, and sometimes even require you to run a full node in the background, which is just ridiculous. Um, so yeah, currently for a native full stack solution, this is the only solution on the market.
that's incredible. Yeah, that you guys have this like full stack, fully fleshed out product. It's so cool, and I think it's the potential impact that it can have is just massive. Like I can see this being used for thousands of games.
Yeah, it's super easy to implement, and it's also actually very easy to elevate a web to an early access game or a game in development already for a few months or a year to transfer it into a Web3 game. That's actually not a very hard process to do. The implementation of blockchain is a lot easier than even I thought in Unreal Engine.
I want to make sure we get everybody's answers question. Sorry, I want to make sure we get everyone's questions answered while we're lucky enough to have you here. So, if you have any questions, guys, make sure to drop them in the text chat and I'll read them out. We got one coming in from Andy Graham. He's wondering, what about like version MIS matches if this was an online game?
Uh,
Yeah, I don't fully understand. I thought it might be some developer lingo. What about like version MIS matches if this was an online game? Someone who's doing.
um,
Oh,
okay, so
version mismatches if this was an online game.
okay. So in most cases where you will be using this automatic download of content would be for assets that are visual. So for skinned meshes, static meshes, texture packs, and stuff like that. But of course, you can download and utilize any dynamic data like data assets or even using the data registries with modular gameplay features. So, like I said, you can have a master container that is constantly checking what is the latest version of a game. And if he sees that you are running a older version of certain package that you have downloaded, it will just re-download it. But the thing is, as long as you are updating the dedicated server that is managing your online match, you are always running the latest version as long as the server got updated. If the client got wrong version, then the client will believe to, for example, I don't know. Let's say that you have patched a balance patch that is changing the damage of weapons and the rate of fire of weapons. If a client don't update on purpose, it would just give him a very hard time because he would believe that he is dealing a lot of damage, but the server got updated and he's reading the data properly. So let's say the client is seeing combat text that he dealt 10 damage with a shot, but the server understands that only 8 health points should be deducted from the health of the target. So you just need to concentrate on instant updating of servers, but you as a developer control the servers and you can push data to them, all of them immediately, or make a separate build for them.
Cool, cool. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for elaborating on that. We are running up on time, so I do want to make sure um, we get the chance to talk about everything that you wanted to talk about today. Um, is there like anything that we haven't covered that you want to cover?
I think for now that's pretty much it. Like I said, we are a full stack solution. We also have a community that is a support community for advanced game developers, but also for the blockchain plugin. We are supporting everyone who purchased the plugin as much as we can and helping out, getting examples. And many of the quality updates that we have published came from suggestions from the community. And we are aggregating all the suggestions and trying to update it to fit as many needs and purposes of our users as we can. And hopefully in a few months we could do another AMA with the project that we have in kitchen right now.
Oh, I think we most definitely have to. What you guys are doing is incredibly exciting. It's providing a massive service for the entire space, and I think one of the biggest like challenges for game developers is getting into blockchain, right? Like it's just like a massive learning curve. So to have an SDK like yours that just abstracts away a lot of the complexity is huge. I guess my final question for you then would be, what are you most excited about when it comes to like Web3 gaming and I don't know, like the future of 3S gaming studio? Like what are you most excited for? Like how do you envision the future?
Um, When it comes down to Web3 gaming as a whole space, I really like how it is evolving because during the last decades, we got great concentration of games being just developed and shipped by those major publishers and major developers, and publishers were starting to give worse and worse contracts to indie developers. It was a very hard scene. But in the last few years, in both Web3 and Web2 gaming, we see a rise of many indie games that are just what the players wanted, not what the marketing team of AAA developer thinks they want. And with Web3, we're getting more and more independent of those big platforms, big publishers. Uh, like currently, I think that Steam is one of the companies that most greatly is slowing down the progress of gaming. And yeah, we see more and more crossing of different IPs and products in between people, and Web3 is going to make it a lot easier and a lot more transparent. One of the key features I really love about blockchain is that if developers promise you something and he delivers it on blockchain, you see exactly how many items there are, who has the custody of them, was the distribution fair and exactly as promised. When it comes down to developers in the Web2 space, when they have their own platform or they have Steam, it's more obscured. You don't really see what's happening behind the scenes in the backend. You don't know if what got promised got delivered in the way that it was promised. And this transparency is going to be essential for future of gaming. And when it comes down to us, we will continue to develop and support great tools. We got more tools, not necessarily Web3 related, in our pipeline that we are going to make accessible on the marketplace to other developers. All the tools are supportive for mostly multiplayer games and just ease of life for creation of games in general. And hopefully, we will be able to support ourselves to further develop our passion project that we are currently working on.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for everything. It's been amazing having you today.
Thank you as well. It was a great privilege to be able to speak to this community.
And thanks everybody so much for coming out and listening today. Hope you enjoyed. There was a lot of alpha shared, and I think it's safe to say that what Adam and the rest of the team at 3S Game Studio are doing is going to be massive. So, yeah, very cool. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you as well.
All right. I hope you all have an amazing day. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye now.
Bye.